All right, Michigan State. What can we expect to see from Sparty? Again, I feel like we're broken records here. This is a team that team looks somewhat similar. There's a lot to build on with players that are back from last year's roster. But what can we expect to see with so many key players gone, Jeff?
Well, I actually think Michigan State, at least, you kind of know to some degree what you're dealing with, right? Izzo didn't go to the portal. He brought in some guys, some freshmen. Their point guard play is probably, and we'll go through the top point guards here in a little bit in the league, but at least you know what you're dealing with, right? Hoggard and Tyson Walker and Izzo. The one thing he told me last year about Walker, and I saw him play a couple times in person here at Northeastern, was he felt like because Walker didn't sit out because the rule changed, he felt like it made it so much harder. If Tyson Walker had a year to learn the system at Michigan State, he would have been really good last year. Instead, he really, really struggled. Didn't know when to shoot, didn't know when to pass. He and Hoggard got better as the season went on. Again, they're good. They're good. They're just not overwhelming by any means. And you look at what they've done the last 2 years. They're 20-20 in the league over the last 2 years. Michigan State, they could go 500 again. It wouldn't surprise me.
It's funny you said that. Sorry, Megan. It's funny you said that about Tyson Walker sitting out, because Izzo said the same thing at media day, and he said he has been so much more comfortable coming into this season because he has that year under his belt, and he looked more comfortable end of the year. I mean, he made the game winner against Purdue. He had a couple of games where he scored in the 20s. But I think when you look at this group, it's very similar in a sense to Indiana, where you're like, all right, they bring a good core back, not as much as IU does, but at the same time, you also think, well, this team was not all that great last year. Right. So it'll depend on development. Jaden Aiken's foot injury hurts them, because he was the guy where you're looking at, like, can he be the dude that makes the jump and is now that guy in the backcourt that can go get you a bucket? Monty Sissoko is the starting center. I think that's underwhelming for Michigan State standards.
He's a backup.
Yeah, he is a backup.
He's a good backup. The kid Jackson Kohler is a top recruit, but he's more of a skill guy from everything I've been told.
I got the sense, though, that Sissoko would be the starter.
He probably will be, because he can rebound. He's an Izzo type of player, at least. Like, Kohler's not ready yet. He needs to find, how he loves to have guys that can get in the glass. Yep. He's not going to get out toughed, right?
Regardless of what happens from a toughness standpoint, if they don't take care of the ball better, it doesn't matter. They've been terrible turning the basketball over. And honestly, Malik Hall needs to be a guy where he's got to show up every night. Like, that dude is talented enough to be an all-league player, and there's no question in my mind about that. But you have games where you watch him and you're like, that dude is all-league. And then you have games where you watch him and you're like, he's taking 2 shots. And if you take 2 shots, you haven't even given yourself a chance. Yeah. I'd rather him go 0 for 13. And at least you're like, well, at least you tried. Like, you're that good of a player. He needs to get 10, 11 shots a game.
Gio, you were talking about, you think the same thing?
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. But, I think, at the end of the day, we talk about all these different question marks. They have a very solid backcourt coming back, right? Like, AJ Hoggard and Tyson Walker are going to be a very good backcourt at the end of the day in the Big Ten. And then you look at Malik Hall, a guy who I honestly think is going to take that next step up. And the last thing is, you should never doubt Tom Izzo. Like that. That's true. Finally, I'm never going to doubt Tom Izzo. I think he just has that aura around him where, again, you like, damn, we're going to play at Michigan State. It's a tough place to play too. So I think they're going to have a good team. They have a good core coming back. And, these are guys who know what it takes, right? They know what it takes to win the Big Ten. Obviously, they haven't had that same success that Michigan State is used to, but Tom Izzo is going to have them ready to play every single game.
Well, Tom Izzo has them ready to play a gauntlet of a non-conference schedule. Listen to this. November 11th, they're playing Gonzaga. 11/15, Kentucky. November 18th, Villanova. November 20th, Alabama. November 30th, Notre Dame. I mean, my goodness, can you imagine being an assistant coach and having to put together the scouts back to back to back for this?
This is what's good for college basketball, though. This is, like, I love Izzo for this, because, again, too many coaches that have job security play a bunch of buy games and garbage games and don't, like, play, especially when you have these long contracts. Like, Calipari's doing it now. obviously playing Gonzaga, playing Indiana, but like all these guys that have big time contracts and have job security should be playing these non-conference games more. And I know they complain, well, we got 20 game league schedule, this, that, and the other. Come on, enough. It's good for the sport.
Well, and after the Bama game, they play the winner or loser of UConn and Oregon at PKI. Like, that is an insane.
How do you like that?
But you know what? Why would you not schedule maybe not to this extent, because you could get your team beaten down with this, but playing high major teams only helps you. Playing bye games against teams with the 300 KenPom does not help you. It can only hurt you.
Gio, as a player, how do you get up for these back-to-back games? But it's against the best in the country.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely going to be super difficult for them, but at the end of the day, it's going to help them come March, right? It's going to help them come late February. It's going to help them when they're playing in the Big Ten, playing against some of these other, big teams. For me as a player, we never really played a great non-conference schedule.
You did know.
I can't really speak from experience.
You had the 300 non-conference.
Yeah, I was hearing you guys saying, I was waiting for one of you guys to be like, Gio, what about Rutgers?
Oh, it was terrible every year. Pike's got to step it up. But again, I get it. He's finally got his big contract. He's got job security. So Pike, if you're listening, start playing some dudes in the non-conference. Come on, Gio wants it too.